Welcome to Trial of the Hollywood Sex Therapist Killer, the harrowing and tragic story of Dr. Amie Harwick, who met a tragic end when she was allegedly thrown off her third-floor balcony by her stalker and ex-boyfriend, Gareth Pursehouse. Found clinging to life, but later succumbing to her injuries, Amie's death has raised many questions, with answers to be revealed in court. Join us as we dive deep into the ongoing trial of Gareth Pursehouse, the man accused of this heinous act, and as we seek justice for Amie.
We are prepared to go forward. Hopefully you've had a good weekend, and it always is so short. We have the witness, Mr. Masterson, back on the stand for the fourth time. Mr. Franzel, let's go ahead and complete his testimony, if you would, please.
Good morning, Detective.
Good morning.
Do you mind if I put this right now? Thank you. Just give me a second to set up here. Okay, thank you. On Friday, I asked you about the February 15th interview with Michael Herman at the station. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And I asked you whether he told you in that interview whether Ms. Harwick was still screaming when he ran out of the house.
Yes.
And you testified that you couldn't recall.
Correct.
And then I was looking for the page in the transcript, but I couldn't find it, and I said I'd come back to it, right?
Okay. Yes.
So I was able to find the page in the transcript. May I approach?
Yes.
What page? Page 30. Although I think that the PDF of the transcript says each page is 3. So it's page 30, starting at line 8, going to page 31, line 20. Or sorry, line 24. So if you could start from there. And just look up when you're done, please. Okay, did that refresh your recollection?
Somewhat, yes.
And isn't it true that in that interview at the station on the 15th, he told you that she was still screaming when he ran out of the house?
When he ran out of the house, yes.
Correct, okay. So I have the clip of that interaction that I'd like to mark as defense next in order.
Objection to witness.
Yeah, what foundation have you established? He's acknowledged he's
No,
done it.
this is impeaching Mr. Herman. This is not impeaching the detective.
Hold on. Let's approach on sidebar.
Now, on Friday, you also testified about what Mr. Herman said during the walkthrough before the interview at the station. And that during that walkthrough conversation at 2886 Mound, that he also said that she was screaming when he left. Remember that?
I'm sorry, I know what I just refreshed during the interview, but I can't say for certain that's what he said through the walkthrough.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at a transcript of the walkthrough?
It might.
This is page 28. Line 7.
Okay.
And if you could just read all the way to 29, line 2.
Okay, so come back up here. Okay.
And then there's one more section, line 31, or page 31, starting at line 12 down to line 22.
And this is transcript of
Yes,
same transcript,
correct.
starting at line 12.
Starting at line 12 on page 31. Okay, so did that refresh your recollection?
Somewhat.
And in that walkthrough that morning on the 15th of February, Mr. Herman told you multiple times that he could still hear her screaming as he left the house.
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to play those clips of Mr. Herman telling the detective that, Your Honor. They're incredibly short clips.
I'm going to object to the editorials. My objection is improper impeachment. The witness has been impeached.
Well, he said he remembers it somewhat. This was different than his last answer, so I'm going to allow it because he characterized it as such. Go ahead.
What's the next in order, Your Honor?
You're W squared, if you would.
All right, W squared. So I'm marking a CD as W squared, and I'm marking the transcript WW1. Get this set up, please. That's right. Just want to open the file. This one for you.
Thank you.
All right, do you recognize this, sir?
Yes.
And this is you at 2086 Mounds on the 15th of February before you interviewed Mr. Herman at the station, right?
Yes.
hearing the screams. How far are you can hear the screams?
I just heard them when I still left the door.
When you walk out the door,
I just had them like coming out. I still hear them.
You still hear the screams. And when you're
I have a CD in my hand that looks marked as XX, and the transcript I look marked as XX1.
She was still yelling.
Okay, so, sir, do you recognize this still image?
Yes.
And is it also Mr. Herman on the 15th at Community 6 Mound?
Yes.
Sorry, she was still yelling. Okay, she was yelling.
I'll let this CD load. I'm going to go back to the start.
Okay, it's yelling the whole time. Telling me. That's why I knew. I knew that there was somebody else in there.
okay. Now this is kind of strange. But can you yell like she? Like what did it sound like? You? Okay. Just a panic yell.
Yeah.
She didn't say like stop, don't. She didn't yell a name. Nothing, with words. It was just the sounds.
Yeah.
The sounds of the scream. Okay. And so,
All right, so on Friday, I asked you about the phone call from Michael Herman that occurred on the 20th of February 2020.
Yes.
The recording of that call was 21 minutes and 44 seconds long.
I don't know how long it was.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at the video, or look at the recording? Late.
It might.
Showing you a file titled Michael Herman 2020.m4a. Can you see here the length of the recording?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And so the call was 21 minutes and 44 seconds long, right?
That's what it shows on your computer. Yes.
And you previously testified that the very beginning of the call was not recorded, right?
They got talking about the voicemail or the call?
The call. This is the call that you received, and then you put it on speakerphone so that Detective Carranza could also listen.
Correct.
When you're in a car.
Yes.
So the very beginning was not recorded, right?
Correct.
But once Mr. Herman started talking about the facts related to the case, you put the call on speakerphone and started recording.
Yes.
Now, at the end of the call, before turning the recording off, Detective Carranza made a record that it was 3:58 p.m. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
All right. Would it refresh your recollection to look at the transcript?
It might.
Okay, may I approach?
Yes.
Showing the detective page 20 of the transcript that is titled Michael Herman via telephone, and showing the detective, if you please could just read from line 22 of page 20 down to line 27. Did that refresh your recollection, sir?
Somewhat.
And the Detective Carranza read into the recording that you were ending the call at 3:58 p.m., right?
Yes.
And so the call began at 3:36 p.m.
Yes.
On Friday, I asked you whether you remembered when you made various items of evidence available to Ms. Bernstein-Lev and the investigator, Christopher Nicely. Do you recall that now?
Do I recall you asking me those questions, or do I recall?
The latter. Do you recall them coming over and you making the evidence available for them? Mr. Avila was also there.
Not really, no.
On Friday, I asked you about some preservation requests. I just have a couple clarification questions. So you personally never sent a preservation request to Google for the Nest camera footage?
I did not, no.
And you didn't direct anyone to send a preservation request to Google for the Nest camera footage?
No, I did not.
On the 20th of May, 2020, Detective Carranza sent Twitter a preservation letter for certain records from Mr. Purshouse's Twitter account. Do you recall that? You were the affiant on the search warrant?
I recall being the affiant of the search warrant, yes.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at the search warrant?
It might.
May I approach?
Yes.
Okay, so this is page 1
Mm-hmm.
for signature of affiant.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just look at page 2, here and here. And look up on your type, please.
And down to here.
All the way down to there. It's just that.
Okay.
Did that refresh your recollection?
I mean, yeah, I guess I have a recollection of the search warrant, but I think you were asking me another question about a certain date.
Right. So you were the affiant of the search warrant, and within that search, did you review the search warrant that you signed your name to?
Back then? Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And part of that search warrant included information that on the 20th of May, 2020, 2 preservation requests went out, right?
I didn't see that in what I just read.
May I approach again?
All right, this is getting cumbersome. Let's try to improve the efficiency on this. Go ahead and approach.
May I approach, John?
Yes?
All right, so page 2. See here, preservation requested 520.
Okay, yes.
And then here, preservation
Okay.
email 520.
Okay, I'm sorry, yes.
No. Did you get a good look at it? Yes. Okay. So, seems like your recollection is refreshed now. Detective, there was a preservation letter emailed on the 20th of May, 2020, to Twitter for certain records from Mr. Purshouse's account, right?
Yes.
And on the same day, the 20th of May, 2020, a preservation letter was sent for certain records associated with his Instagram account.
Yes.
You interviewed Hernando Chavez on February 18th, 2020, right?
My partner and I, yes.
In that interview, Dr. Hernando Chavez told you that other people heard the statement, "You ruined my life, bitch." Right?
That's not my recollection of the statement, no.
In that interview, Hernando Chavez told you that he did not personally hear that statement.
That's not my recollection of the statement, no.
So your testimony today is that Hernando Chavez did tell you that he personally heard Gareth Pursehouse say, "You ruined my life, bitch."
Objection, argumentative.
No.
My recollection of his statement that day was that he did not hear the beginning or the middle of the argument. He only heard the end of the argument. That he heard some comments, and that the way I understood his statement was the beginning and the middle, that he wasn't there for. He was told what was said to him by Amie, and I can't remember, he used a term for the other person. But then he talks about hearing other statements.
So I have a very specific question. In the interview with Hernando Chavez, he never told you that he personally heard Gareth Pursehouse say, "You ruined my life, bitch." Isn't that true?
Objection, vague as phrased.
Well, you can explain too. Like,
I'm just focusing on that specific statement, not other statements.
The way he said it, and the way I understood what he said during the interview, was that he heard certain things. He couldn't give a verbatim what was said, but he had heard certain things, and he was told other things.
My question is only about this very specific phrase. Okay? So in that interview with Hernando Chavez, he told you that other people, and not himself, were the ones that heard this specific phrase from Mr. Pursehouse, "You ruined my life, bitch."
Objection, just compound as.
is that correct, yes or no?
But I'm going to object this compound as phrased.
Rephrase it, counsel.
Hernando Chavez told you that he was not the one who heard the statement, "You ruined my life, bitch."
Is that correct?
I don't think that is correct.
Okay.
All right.
So you testified in the preliminary hearing in this case, right?
I did.
And isn't it true that your testimony at the preliminary hearing was different than your testimony here today?
Vague as to what's different.
Exactly. Sustain.
In your preliminary hearing testimony, you testified, "I read the transcript of the interview with this is page 54, line 25. I read the transcript of the interview with Mr. Herman. I watched the video. I read the summary that was written of our interview, along with the notes in the chronological records." Then you were asked, "And did you tell him whether or not you found a statement from Mr. Chavez in which he told you he personally heard Mr. Pursehouse say, 'You ruined my life, bitch'?" You then testified, "I did not find the statement, 'You ruined my life, bitch,' but there was another statement that I believe he attributes to hearing, and that is why I wanted to look at the entire transcript." You were asked, "The portion I just asked you about,
What page is this?
54, line 14 to 16, and on." Then you were asked, "The portion I just asked you about, Dr. Chavez never told you he personally heard that. Is that correct?" And you answered, "Correct." Right?
Yes.
So you, in the preliminary hearing, you testified that Hernando Chavez that Hernando Chavez told you he never personally heard that statement.
At the preliminary hearing, that is what I said, yes.
And in this February interview with Mr. Chavez, you and Detective Carranza actually had a whole conversation where you impressed upon him the need to have an actual witness to that statement, right?
I don't think we impressed upon him that we were looking for a witness to that actual statement. I think we were just looking for as close to somebody who heard as much of the argument as possible.
And isn't it true that in the preliminary hearing you testified that we would like to find somebody who heard more of the conversation? And you testified that that was the general context of the conversation, that finding that person that heard that statement.
That's a little different than what you just represented, counsel. We'd like to hear somebody that heard more of that conversation. He didn't make it as specific as you did.
No,
That's different.
isn't it true that you testified, and I quote,
What page are we looking at? And for the record, the page 54 that was read before, that's for volume 6.
All right.
So, this is page 55, volume 6. You were asked, as a matter of fact, at the end of your interview with Dr. Chavez, both you and Detective Carranza impressed upon him the need to have an actual witness to what was said prior to his arrival during the conversation between Dr. Harwick and Mr. Pursehouse. Is that correct? And you answered, I would say that we did talk about, we would like to find somebody who heard more of the conversation. I don't think we said we need to have that, but yes, other than that, that's the general context of the conversation at the end there. So the general context, that's you testified to that, right? That was your testimony from the preliminary hearing.
Yes.
And so, isn't it true that you had a kind of detailed back and forth with Mr. Chavez about how you wanted him to find that witness?
Objection, misstates the testimony.
Sustained.
And you testified, yeah, and that's what, if it wasn't for covering this angle and of what happened that night, we wouldn't push it. But I think it's going to be a key to successful prosecution. That's what you testified to, right?
Objection, which line is he testifying to that?
20 to 24 of page 55.
That's a question by an attorney.
Oh, and your answer, that sounds like something I said, yes.
Yeah, that's what I said.
For the record, that's a question by a defense attorney.
Yes, exactly. You were asked this question. Do you recall telling Dr. Chavez, yeah, and that's what, if it wasn't for covering this angle and of what happened that night, we wouldn't push it. But I think it's going to be a key to successful prosecution. So in that question, the defense attorney was quoting you in the interview, right?
I'm going to object as counsel's now testifying.
Why are you saying right? If it's incorrect, I'm sure the witness will correct him. Is that correct?
Well, I can't sit here today and tell you exactly what I said that many years ago, but I noticed on both of those questions that you asked me that you're using part of the question seeming like it's part of what I said, when all I was trying to do was get from the witness what they heard, what was going on, and if they didn't have all the information, was there other witnesses that could provide additional information to what was going on at the red carpet?
So you just said that you can't exactly recall exactly what you said in the interview with Mr. Chavez. Would it refresh your recollection to look at the transcript?
Again, it might. This is many years ago.
Showing transcript of the interview with Hernando Chavez, page 28, line 4 to 7. Please look up when you're done.
Okay.
And just for additional context, just so that there's no question of whether that section is being taken out of context, could you also read page 27 from the top, from line 1 all the way down? Okay, sir, did that refresh your recollection?
Some.
And isn't it true that that question that was asked of you was just a quote from your interview, that you specifically said, yeah, and that's what, and if it wasn't for covering this angle of what happened that night, we wouldn't push it. But I think it's going to be a key to successful prosecution. That's what you said in the interview.
That was part of what I said in that interview. Yes,
Right,
we were
but-
talking about what, who was at the red carpet and who heard what, and if we could find people that saw this event and saw what happened and heard what was said, all that would go toward the investigation.
And you were telling Hernando Chavez you needed somebody who would say, I was there, this is what I saw, right?
An eyewitness would be great, yes.
And it was specifically in the context of hearing this statement.
Well, hearing a statement and other statements, I don't know. We're still investigating this thing and trying to figure out what happened.
Right, and the whole reason that you were asking for this friend of the information for this friend of Mr. Chavez is because he told you he wasn't the one who heard that statement.
You keep
I'm gonna check that.
trying to insinuate that this witness's statement that he would like other people that heard statements and so forth to say that he was looking for other people that heard that statement and that therefore he didn't hear it all, Mr. Chavez. He's already explained it to you, so ask your next question if you would.
It's not an insinuation, Your Honor. It's what's in the transcript.
No, that's the way the court interprets it. Anyway, let's move on.
Now, you also talked to Hernando Chavez about the second conversation that Ms. Harwick had with Gareth, right?
What do you mean the second conversation?
At the XBiz Awards.
I understand the XBiz Awards. I don't understand what you mean by second conversation.
At the XBiz Awards on January 16th, 2020, there was an encounter between Mr. Pursehouse and Ms. Harwick, right?
Yes.
And they had a conversation.
Objection foundation as to this witness.
Oh, I mean, overruled. Were you aware that there was a second conversation that took place?
Well, I'm not sure what he means by a second conversation, Your Honor. I know that
There was
There was
an
the
initial
encounter
conversation
that-
when they first met each other,
yes.
when they first ran into each other, and then there was a subsequent conversation that occurred. Did you know that? Right at the scene of the awards show.
If he's referring to they walk away together.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all. I just didn't understand if
Yeah.
that's what he meant by a second conversation.
All right.
at the end of the night, right? At the end of the XBiz Awards.
Okay, yes,
And you asked Mr. Chavez about that, right?
well, he told us about it, yes.
You interviewed Mr. Chavez,
Yes,
and you asked him what happened,
yes,
and he told you about this second conversation at the end of the night.
yes,
He told you that 5 to 10 minutes after Ms. Harwick and Mr. Pursehouse left to have this second conversation, he went to the room that they were talking in.
yes,
And during that conversation, that he was sitting in the same room as the two of them.
yes,
That he was sitting there for 45 minutes.
yes,
That he could see them talking on the bench.
yes,
That he could see their body language during the conversation.
yes.
And that eventually he got tired of sitting there.
Tired of sitting and waiting, yes,
So he went over to Ms. Harwick and said, I think we need to go.
yes,
You and Detective Carranza interviewed Aspen Jameson in Henderson, Nevada on the 28th of October 2021.
yes.
You wrote a report about that interview.
There's a statement report, yes,
Did you review that report?
I did.
And it included all the important details from the interview with Ms. Jameson.
I believe so,
It was complete, true, and accurate.
yes,
9 days prior to the interview, on the 19th of October 2021, you spoke with Aspen Jameson on the phone.
yes,
That phone call was not recorded.
no, it was not.
You took handwritten notes of that conversation.
I did,
In your notes, you included biographical details, including her name, date of birth, phone number, that kind of thing.
yes,
And those notes also included notes about what was discussed in the call, right?
somewhat, yes,
And your notes make a list of what was discussed.
yes.
You spoke to her about what happened at the XBiz show.
No, not really.
Would it refresh your recollection to look at your notes?
No, I don't think so.
In your notes, you write that she was introduced to Ms. Harwick, right?
Yes,
That she saw and
I'm
heard.
sorry, that she was introduced.
Correct.
I don't know if I use that term,
Would
introduced.
it refresh your recollection to look at the?
It might.
May I approach?
Yes.
If you could just look right there.
Mhm.
Did that refresh your recollection, sir?
Yes,
And isn't it true that you wrote a note, intro to Harwick?
yes,
By that, perhaps that was my mistake, assuming what intro meant. Did you mean introduced to Harwick?
yes,
Okay. And that Miss Jameson saw and heard a male.
yes,
That she heard the phrase, "Why are you here?"
yes,
That not supportive was also noted.
yes,
Liar, two-face,
yes,
got heated, walk away. Right?
yes.
Nothing in your notes indicate that Miss Jameson told you that she heard the statement, "You ruined my life, bitch."
On the phone call? No, because I didn't go into an interview about what was going on.
Well,
What
you were,
those little bullet points that are on there, I was asking her to verify, is this the lady that was there at the red carpet? Did you speak with a woman that was there, Amie? I wanted to make sure that that I had the right person that we were talking about, and she knew something about what I wanted to talk about.
so your note saw and heard male. Why are you here? Not supportive. Those are notes that you were taking of what Miss Jameson was telling you about the event, right?
I don't recall if she told me that exactly, or those are just like the things that I was asking her, and I was writing what I'm saying down. Because, like I said, this is sometime after the incident. Dr. Chavez was a little hesitant to provide us her information. He wanted to reach out to her and get her to call us.
All right, I'm going to stop you there. So the heading in your notes, XBiz Red Carpet January 2020, that's not to signify that you spoke about that with Ms. Jameson?
They spoke about what?
Well, that subject you just asked about. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question, please?
In the center of your handwritten notes, all of those, that whole list is not what Ms. Jameson was telling you on the phone?
Not necessarily. I'm asking her, were you at the XBiz? Yeah, I was there. Did you meet Amie? So those are kind of my talking points as well.
And so you were asking her, did you hear the phrase, "Why are you here"?
No, I don't think I said that.
That's the phrase "Why are you here" is written in your notes.
Right? And I said, I don't think I said that.
So that was what she told you?
I believe so.
Okay. And not supportive. Were you asking her, with Ms. Jameson, something about Ms. Harwick not being supportive of adult film in the past?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
And liar two-face, you're asking Ms. Jameson if she heard that phrase?
No.
She's telling you that?
Yes.
Okay. And got heated, walk away. Are you asking Ms. Jameson, did they get heated and walk away, or is that what she told you?
I think she said that it was a heated argument, yes.
And so your notes and your testimony, it shows that clearly this phone conversation was not just a logistical conversation, right?
Yes, it was.
But you were just talking about how you were talking about what happened at the XBiz Awards, right?
I can't control what somebody says back to me, but my purpose in this call was purely logistical, to get in touch with her, find out if she was the person that we were looking to speak with, and then set up an appointment at her convenience to do an interview.
And my question wasn't what was your purpose. My question is the call, the contents of the call, what was discussed in the call, ended up going into what happened at the XBiz Award ceremony, right?
Objection asked to answer an argumentative.
Right. He's just trying to lay a foundation. That's his next question. Go ahead. Is that correct, what he just stated? Go ahead and repeat your question.
Well, that the call, what you actually did talk about, it did include her memories from the XBiz Awards event.
Not really. It was like I said, it was just to make sure that she's the person that we wanted to talk to. It wasn't like an interview. Like I didn't ask her this and she said that, and then I asked her this and she said that. It wasn't like that at all.
Isn't it true that in that phone call you asked her whether she heard Mr. Pursehouse say, "You ruined my life, bitch"?
No, I did not.
I have a CD that I'd like to mark this defense next in order.
They're double Y.
Can I see the exhibit? Make sure it's proper.
Here you go.
Will we approach Your Honor?
Yes.
In the interview with Ms. Jameson, she was telling you about the manner in which Ms. Harwick and Mr. Pursehouse walked away from the red carpet, right?
That they walked away, yes.
And when she was describing that, she told you and Detective Carranza, and then I think well, she walked away, and I think he followed. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Let's talk about investigation practices. So interviewing two witnesses together at the same time is not best practices.
It wouldn't be my preferred way, but sometimes that's the way it has to happen.
That's the way it has to happen.
Sure, sometimes.
So, the problem is that the two witnesses can hear each other's statements, right?
Yes.
And then even if it's not intentional, hearing other witnesses' statements can affect your own memory of the event.
Affect my memory of the event?
If two people are interviewed together, and person A hears what person B is saying, that can affect person A's own memory of the event, just hearing their statement, right?
It could.
And so it's best practices to take statements from witnesses separately, right?
That's the preferable method, yes.
And you were trained in the LAPD homicide manual, right?
Yes.
And the homicide manual specifically instructs in multiple places to separate witnesses, right?
Yes.
On February 16th, 2020, you interviewed Sarah Rollins and Mr. Koshland together in the same interview, right?
Vegas to the number of Robert Koshland's interviews.
Well, did you interview them together? I know that you had testified earlier that you interviewed one and then you interviewed the other, but the other one happened to be there for support.
Yes.
Okay, so could you explain that?
So
Let him explain it.
but my question, Your Honor, was whether he interviewed them together.
Right, and he's going to explain it.
I would object as non-responsive.
No, I'm going to allow him to explain it. You want an answer, he's going to explain it. Go ahead and explain your answer if you want.
They came in together to be interviewed. She was hesitant to meet with us one-on-one and preferred to be with Robert for support. And so we allowed it. I allowed it. I'll take responsibility for that.
Did you interview him at the same time?
No,
Okay.
He was not the subject of the interview. She was.
Right, but they were both witnesses in this case, and the point is you interviewed them together, right?
Correct.
All right, so I have a number of photographs, I have copies for the people.
Counselor, how much longer do you have for this witness? You said 40 minutes the other day, and it's been almost an hour.
I'm having to refresh my recollection a whole lot here.
I understand that. How much longer do you have? The question was.
I think probably 15 minutes.
Okay. You're marking exhibits?
Yes.
You're at double Z right now. YY was YY a CD? Someone help me out on this.
YY was the CD that I wasn't.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
allowed to play.
That's okay. Are you going to withdraw that, or
I'll withdraw it if.
we'll mark the next one YY?
Well,
Yes.
I need it to be in the record, so I'd like YY to be in the record.
That'll be courts number 1. You want to keep it as 1? Then why are you interrupting me? All right, we'll keep it as YY. All right, and we'll make your photographs a ZZ, and you have 1 through what now?
18.
1 through 18. Okay.
And I have the reason I put it on a CD is so all of the photos are on the CD, and
Okay.
I have hard copies. So the CD I'd like to be marked as ZZ, and then the photos 1 through 18.
You want that as A? No, that would have to be ZZ will be the CD. ZZ1 will be 1 through 18. How's that? Would that work, David? Huh? Okay. Yes. All right.
Okay, so I'm showing you a picture of the where the kind of like electrical cable type thing was found. Do you recognize this?
I do.
And so what I'm showing, by the way, is ZZ2.
Relevance to this photograph.
Well, I haven't heard the question yet.
This is an exhibit. Okay, so this is a piece of evidence that was there at the bottom, you can see that there's the evidence marker, right?
Photo ID marker 1, yes.
Photo ID marker 1. And this is where this electrical, or whatever this is, was found, right?
My objection to relevance is we have
understand.
we have this photo in
The
evidence.
question is, he answered yes. What's your follow-up question to that?
I'm establishing the location that this was found. That's all I'm doing.
Right, but that was already a step. Let's approach. All right, Kills.
Thank you. So, the purpose of this is to establish where this piece of evidence was found. So, here we are. This is Ivar, right?
I believe that's correct, yeah.
Okay, and there's, obviously a trash can right here, right?
Yes.
So I'd like to publish a Google map here. Can you please point out where that piece of evidence was found on this Google map? Roughly speaking. There's a wooden stick behind you if you need that.
Do you see the pointer behind you?
I do see it, Your Honor. I'm still trying to orient myself to this photo.
And for the record, no locations are identified on the photo.
Does that help if I zoom in a little bit more? Do you see this 2086 right there?
Yes, yes, I see that. So I'm not familiar with this,
Are you able to tell from this photograph where?
but I believe, Your Honor, it's back over here someplace.
Okay, so let the record reflect that the detective is pointing towards Ivar on the south west side of Ivar, right?
Yes.
And so it was found right next to where the trash cans were out, right?
A few feet away.
And trash collection day for this block of Ivar is on
All right,
Friday.
under 352, the court's going to interpose its own objection. Let's move on, counsel. If that's going to be the nature of your questions that are following these photographs, the court is going to 352 deny the questions. So
I can't ask what day
how does he know when trash day
He
is?
can say he doesn't know.
Why are you asking that question, counsel? Let's approach.
I'd like to have you look at what is ZZ6. Do you recognize this?
I do.
And this is how the patio looked on the 15th of February 2020, right?
At the time this photo was taken, yes.
And this photo was taken on the 15th. This is one of the photos that you had taken of the scene.
Yes.
Okay. So I'd just like to zoom in here. Now, this photograph here shows that there's damage to the awning beneath the balcony, right?
Objection Vegas, the damage.
Do you understand the question?
I believe I do.
Do you see damage on there?
I see something on the awning, yes.
Okay.
I'd like to show one more of this with a slightly different angle, Your Honor, and then I'm moving on. So this is ZZ7. Is this, detective, is this also a photograph that you asked to be taken of the patio on the 15th of February 2020?
Yes.
Now I'm zooming in, and isn't it true that there is damage to the awning beneath the patio?
Vegas, the damage.
Yeah. Do you see damage on there?
I see something, Your Honor.
Would you characterize it as damage?
I don't recall, I don't remember seeing damage to anything that day, but I see there's something on the awning there.
All right.
Does it at that time of day the awning it was broken in one part there that you can see on the photo, right?
I see something in the photo. Again, I don't remember seeing anything broken or damaged enough that it caught my eye.
And whatever that is in the photograph, that you're not sure if it's damaged, whatever that's showing up there, though, is to the left of the gutter spout, right?
To the left?
As in, it's...
Oh, the downspout.
Yeah, the downspout.
To the left of that downspout.
Correct.
Yes.
All right. I'd like to show you what is ZZ16. You recognize that? That's the balcony off of her bedroom, right?
Yes.
And I'd like to show you one more photograph of the balcony. This is ZZ17, right?
I don't know your number.
Or sorry,
Is it 17 or not?
That's the balcony off of the bedroom.
Did this witness testify about the balcony and several pictures, photographs that were shown to him, the left of the balcony, the right of the balcony, the vantage point from looking down from the balcony already? Mr. Franzel?
Yes, Your Honor. So I'm just saying, this is the balcony, right? That's all I'm on.
Right,
yes
and that's
or no?
what he said the first time around when you showed him photographs of it.
All right.
All right.
Can he answer?
Yes, he said it's a balcony, is it not?
Yes.
Okay.
Publishing what was previously marked as defense 10M.
Reject this foundation to the date.
I'm not asking.
To the date? I didn't hear any. I haven't heard a question yet.
So, to you, this appears to be Miss Harwick on this very same balcony outside of her bedroom.
I'm going to object foundation date.
Sustain.
Date of photo.
There's no date. I'm not asking about a date.
Well, do you know if that's the same balcony, sir?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that photo.
All right.
So you're not sure if this is the same balcony, right? So this is
This balcony and the balcony you showed me in the previous photo, I'm not sure if that is the same or not. I don't know.
you don't know.
I'm not familiar with that photo.
Okay, so the balcony that
I'm going to object this foundation.
Let me hear the question. What's the question?
The balcony railing that she is sitting on is black, right?
Yeah, okay. He just stated, counsel, that's where his answer stands. He is not sure. Now, if you're going to go through, they also have rails on it, and they have twirly marks on them, and they're black, and therefore he's already stated he doesn't recognize it. He can't tell you one way or the other. So let's move on, if you would.
Is it that you're okay? So you're not sure, but to you, are you saying that it doesn't it's not the same balcony?
I'm going to object this
Sustain.
foundation.
Sustain.
Now, I'd like to show you ZZ18.
More of the trial of the Hollywood sex therapist killer is on the way. Press subscribe now so you don't miss a moment of this riveting courtroom drama as we seek justice for Dr. Amie Harwick.